Hello everyone, and welcome back to the series. Did you miss me? Today we're gonna be going over the 4 banana cups. Now these tracks should be more interesting than the basic baby shell cup tracks. Now that we aren't locked to only using beginner tracks, anything goes here. You know the rules already. I score the tracks on a scale of 5 points, the cup with the highest score wins, yada yada. Hope you guys like potassium, cause it's time to chow down on a whole bunch of bananas. Wow, what a surprise! Mario Kart DS is last place yet again. I think we found our new Super Mario Kart, you guys. But believe me, when you see some of the tracks we've got here, especially a certain one of them, you'll start to understand. We start off with not Donut Plains 2, not Donut Plains 3, but the very forgettable Donut Plains 1. What the hell do these tracks even have to do with donuts anyways? I know they're based on the Donut Plains section from Super Mario World, but to that I say, it didn't seem like there were donuts there either. This background is so flat and pixelated, it looks like something I draw in MS Paint. Nintendo's gotta hire me for Mario Kart World with these artistic skills, you guys. This track is fine enough to drive on, nothing all that special's going on here as you can see. It's not too easy, not too hard. I'm really stretching for things to say here at this point. Here we go, an interesting racetrack. N64 Frappe Snowland is back and looking as depressive as ever. I've said it before, but come on. They absolutely used the model for the Mario Snowman from this course and retextured it for the Mario Topiary on Peach Gardens. Honestly, I still think it's a pretty smart use of resources. The snowmen still do demolish you in this version, as they should, but not as much as the original, where they send you flying in the air like you hit a landmine. That's a SpongeBob type explosion right there. They've still got this snow hallway that's completely empty. Thank God, it just wouldn't have been a faithful remake otherwise. It turns out though, this section is a reference to a real tourist location in Japan. They're called snow corridors and are these man-made towering walls of snow that you can travel through. And while they do seem like they'd be very beautiful in person, I'm not sure if that same kind of magic applies to this Mario Kart course. I do have a greater appreciation for this now, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't stop me from thinking this section is still a little bland. Ah well, at least there's still some cool off-road shortcuts you can pull off here. Oh, you gotta be f***ing kidding me. They really just do not let you have any fun here. I thought this was a perfectly fine area to shroom pass. It's even in between 2 trees, so I thought it was intentional. But no, Lakitu just puts you back on track for even daring to explore the game's boundaries, and you thought he was bad enough in Mario Kart 8. Okay then, I guess I'll just go over here. Oh, no, never mind. I'll go f myself. I don't even know if it was like this in the N64 original, but that's just an annoyance that makes this track worse in my opinion. And it wasn't even that good to begin with. Another day, another Bowser Castle. GBA Bowser Castle 2 is yet another flat course, but hey, at least this one's got plenty of jumps on it. That's gotta make up for something, right? At least the grates in this version don't destroy my eyeballs anymore. The sound that these ramps make are like the least exciting sound you could possibly have for a ramp. Like it sounds like whoosh. Like whoosh. It sounds like a gust of wind, which I guess is the more realistic option, but it definitely doesn't sound as cool as the tricking sound effects from Wii onwards. You know a track is boring when I gotta talk about the goddamn sound effects. Oh boy, is it that time already? You know how I said in that one other video that we don't talk about this version? Well, we're just not going to. And that was the DS Banana Cup. Overall, it wasn't as bland and boring as the Shell Cup. Okay, fine, I'll talk about it. Where do I even start with this thing? This is nearly as bad of a misunderstanding of which track deserves to be in which game as Excitebike Arena is. This is the most boring and lifeless version of the track they've created. Like, just look at the background here. Nothing is moving around, even though this is supposed to be a lively theme park. Not this Ferris wheel, not this Koopa who looks like he's seen too much, not these panicular looking houses, nothing! Making the decision to put this course on a handheld where it apparently can't even handle the background not being a flat PNG was a fundamentally bad choice that leaves this track feeling, dare I say it, soulless! But those are just the superficial aesthetic details. We're not even scratching the surface of the issues this track has. I mean, just look at the top right of the screen here. 5 laps? 5? Each of these laps takes about 15 seconds anyways. Why did they feel the need to remove 2 of them as if that was gonna make any significant difference? I get that it's because it's on a handheld and they probably wanted to make it a bit shorter for quick play sessions, sure, but dear God, the track was already short enough as is, and now you want to make it as short as an SNES track? But hey, you know what? That was probably a blessing in disguise anyways, cause guess what? This track is just not fun. The whole point of Baby Park wasn't the actual course itself. Oh, no, no, no. The real fun that comes out of this are the item sets the game provides you, and how many players there are to utilize them. In this game, however, there's only 8 players as opposed to Double Dash's in Mario Kart 8's 12, and sure, it might only be 4 players less, but it just makes this already empty feeling park feel a lot more barren without seeing items flying around everywhere. And the main reason for that is that the items in this game are not exciting. In Double Dash, not only do you have the ability to get 2 item boxes at a time, leading to more chaos on the battlefield, but you can also get character-specific items, and some of these can really obliterate a whole bunch of people in your way, like the Chain Chomp, the Giant Banana, and especially the Bowser Shell. See, this is the type of chaotic fun everyone enjoys the track for. But here on DS, what do we even have? Some bananas? A few shells? A fake item box every once in a while? And you can only carry 1 of these items at a time, meaning that the amount of items actually in play at any given time is significantly less than in Double Dash. And what does that leave you with? A boring flat loop with nothing interesting happening in the background that only lasts for about 1 minute. Wow, guys, this is the best Mario Kart they've ever made. Holy nostalgia, guys. Nintendo needs to stop making mid and go back to the real good games. Games where half of the track list looks like a tumor. But hey, at least we can all agree that even at the end of this obscenely long rant, it's still more interesting than Toad's Turnpike. Whoop whoop! Well, I guess we really are back, huh? This cup turned out to be not that great, didn't it? In fact, checking out the scores here, this cup is actually lower than the DS Shell Cup. I was really not expecting that. You might have just witnessed the truly worst cup in Mario Kart history. I could hardly think of anything else that would hold a more boring and unenjoyable set of 4 courses than this one, and I honestly hope we don't find one. I really hope the rest of these cups aren't nearly as bad as this one. We're off to a terrible start here. Next up, we've got Mario Kart Wii. Listen, the nitros for this game are great and all, but these retros kinda leave a bit to be desired. Don't worry though, this is a much better set of courses than the previous cup, which means it's just kinda alright. N64 Sherbet Land is a pretty interesting track choice for this game, I think. This ice is still as crystal clear as ever, and these cracks are still fun to jump over for literally no reason at all. Didn't anyone ever tell these little penguins not to play in the middle of the road? Especially when there's about 12 go-karts ready to slam right into them, sometimes with explosives? That giant mama penguin over there really needs to get off that island and do something about these rambunctious little ones, even if she's having a seizure. You know, this cave section really reminds me a bit of Rosalina's Ice World now that I look at it. I mean, the snow here feels just as colorful as the Northern Lights as well. This track definitely isn't the worst one out there, but sometimes it feels like it's too big and empty for its own good. Like half the time you're going in a straight line just waiting for the next turn, and with hardly any shortcut potential in sight here, the races really aren't all that interesting. Did somebody say GBA Shy Guy Beach? No? Well, here it is anyways! I wonder if this is anyone's favorite track in this game. That would be hilarious. My main question here is, why are these Shy Guy pirates constantly shooting these giant explosive cannonballs at us? Isn't this their beach? Are they that angry at us for deciding to have a friendly kart race on it that they're willing to destroy their own property? I like how you can hit these umbrellas to open or close them up. See, it's the little details like this that can turn a bad track into a bad track with umbrellas. This is literally just a giant square. There's hardly anything actually fun about racing here besides the fact that you can just blow up. DS Delfino Square, where the time is always 10:45, the trees are always yellow, and the advertisements are aplenty. Why must capitalism ruin our great cities? How come there's so many advertisements for Super Wario here? What even is that? Like just someone advertising themselves? Again? I mean, to be fair, if anyone were to advertise themselves, it would be Super Wario. I'm not even gonna ask what the hell a Koopa shop could be, you can keep that to yourselves. This track is still as great as ever, with some fun shortcuts and this huge bridge ramp making for some massive leaps. How could you not like this track? I do wonder what part of Isle Delfino this takes place in though. I mean, you never see it in Sunshine itself, but with the sizable number of gray buildings and roads everywhere, it's probably the UK area. Hold up, 2 bangers in a row? Oh, now we're talking! GCN Waluigi Stadium actually got a substantial upgrade in this game. Shocking, I know. I just wanted to talk about the same exact course again. All they had to do was add these new half pipes. These feel like such a natural feature that seamlessly integrate into the theming and design of this track. I find it hard to believe it wasn't like this from the start. I mean, of course you'd expect a biker stadium like this one to have tons of ramps for you to pull tricks off of. To me, this feels like the true original version of this track. I really like how they completely changed this one section, which had you just avoiding these cardboard piranha plants in the GameCube version, into this uniquely different style of gameplay where you just go back and forth with the half-pipe tricking. It's so much more fun this way. They even kept these funny looking signs in this version. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe could never. It turns out this one small addition was actually one of the most substantial ways they could have upgraded this track. If only they did stuff like this more often with the other retro tracks in this game. The Wii Banana Cup honestly isn't all too bad, definitely better than the Wii Shell Cup, and certainly better than the DS Banana Cup. Delfino Square and Waluigi Stadium are two classic courses, one of them even being better on Wii. Let's hope these next cups can spice up these remakes a little bit more. Mario Kart 8 is ranked second place here, and is it just me or am I starting to get serious deja vu from the last video? Maybe this will be a trend for the rest of the retro cups, maybe not, but just hear me out first. Okay, out of all the choices for double dash tracks they could have brought back for this game, they chose this? The basic desert course with hardly anything unique about it? Not just that though, they actually did make a few changes here. They removed the tornadoes that used to spin you out like crazy, and also the piranha plant looking creature that ate you in this quicksand pit. Are you kidding me? So not only do you bring back a bland track, you decide to take away most of the unique elements that actually made it stand out? What on earth were they thinking here? Well, at least they sorta made up for it by adding this cool new Oasis section at the end. See, now this is the kind of upgrade I like to see in my retro tracks. A big new addition that doesn't seem out of place at all. Still not sure why they had to get rid of the other elements in order to make this possible, but at least they decided to compensate in some way. Now, if you want to talk about good retro track upgrades, well, this whole course is a massive upgrade. SNES Donut Plains 3 is supremely different from its original version despite having the same exact layout. Now, instead of it being a tough as nails track where you have to avoid the water like it's lava, you can just freely drive in it thanks to the underwater mechanics, making this grassy track feel as breezy as it looks. You could say they babyfied it now because it's not nearly as difficult as the original. Or you can just say it's better, because, like, look at it. This track is absolutely gorgeous! Not just in the graphics, but the detail itself. I love the hills and random blocks scattered around in the background. Of course, I also love the color that these SNES blocks add to the realistic looking track, and the section at the end with all the little muddy pools of water looks really beautiful too. I swear, this is some of the most realistic looking Nintendo water ever, and this is a goddamn Wii U game! There's also plenty of shortcuts here too. Honestly, this track just has a really fun layout to it, and thankfully this time we don't have to drive with SNES controls. They honestly did not have to go this crazy with the upgrade they gave this track, but I'm so glad they did. See, this is why I want more SNES tracks as retros in future installments, so they can finally shine bright in good games. Now, N64 Royal Raceway is one of those remakes that has its ups and downs, like most of them. Of course, you can't go inside Peach's castle in this version, because they not only decided to lock the gates, but also raise it up so that there's no possible way you could get in. I feel like that's a bit overkill, but okay. I feel like they probably did this because they couldn't program Lakitu to not pick you up when you're driving around out of bounds like this. You already know Lakitu would pick you up the moment you step foot in those castle grounds. I'm glad for the next game they basically decided to make every track like the original Royal Raceway. It's basically the complete opposite design philosophy that Mario Kart 8 had. Besides that, that's actually the only real downside. They did a really good job remaking this one too. I just love the atmosphere here with the rose-tinted sky and the cherry blossom petals floating around everywhere. It just gives this track its own unique springtime flair. As for the layout, it hasn't really changed at all, besides of course this giant ramp being changed into a glider section. Honestly, it was begging to turn out this way. This part really works well for a scenic glide. This track is just fun to play, especially with that bombastic remade music too. They did a really good job with this one. And after all these years, we finally got the entire Women of Racing organization into Mario Kart 8. Good job, women. To end things off, we have what might be the most fitting track to ever be placed in the Banana Cup, 3DS DK Jungle. This is one of the more unique tracks from Mario Kart 7, being a complete homage to the Donkey Kong Country games, well, mostly Returns, and I'm always a fan of the tracks that reference actual games from the wider Mario series, so I'm glad this one made the cut. Not a lot has changed from the 3DS version, but man does it look good now. I mean, this is probably the closest we'll get to seeing a modern 3D Donkey Kong game for a while. I wrote this right before the direct where they revealed a new 3D Donkey Kong game. Wow, am I a psychic or what? The Golden Banana Temple looks a lot more bold and beautiful. It definitely feels a lot more grand now that it's not on a tiny handheld screen anymore. Given that this was from the previous game in the series, the layout remains mostly intact, except now in the temple they added this anti-gravity section. Surprisingly, this is the first and only time in this cup they decided to add anti-grav to any of these tracks. I'm honestly glad they didn't try to shove it in any track in any way they could. I mean, this section didn't really need it that badly either, but at least it doesn't feel completely shoehorned in here. It kinda does add to the mystical aesthetic. They did the best they could with a remake here, which makes for a pretty alright retro track. This Banana Cup is one of the more solid set of quality tracks than the ones we've seen already. The only real stinker here is GCN Dry Desert, but it's not even that big of a stinker really, it's just kinda mid. Who knows, maybe the final cup here won't have a single flop at all. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, who could have seen this coming? I'm telling you, the retros that Mario Kart 7 has are nothing to sneeze at. They picked some godlike tracks to port over to their simple handheld entry, and if any cup showcases that, it's this one. We start off with N64 Koopa Beach. You know, I'm surprised they didn't decide to put this Koopa track in the Shell Cup, but sure. I like how Lakitu wears a snorkel for water-based tracks. That's a pretty unnecessary touch that's kinda charming. This isn't that much different than the original besides a few small tweaks, like this glider ramp they added here that might be one of the most useless glider additions in the game. I mean, really, this just adds nothing to the track. There's a few times you can go off the beaten path for some extra coins, like this path to the right of the alcove, and sometimes the water shallows up at the end for a lot of free coins. Besides that, it's what you know already. This shortcut is still impossible without a mushroom, and while they did add underwater driving here, it doesn't really add that much to the track. DS had Mario Circuit 1, we had Mario Circuit 3, so naturally on 3DS we have Mario Circuit 2. That's how counting works, right? This is one of the more fun SNES track layouts. I mean, it's still basic as all hell, but sometimes simplicity can be the spice of life, you know? This track is pretty similar to the original, besides the addition of like this one shortcut ramp, but that's of course ignoring the actual big change this course has, this giant glider ramp at the end. The thing is, they didn't just arbitrarily add a glider to the end here. If they did, it would have been the most useless one in the game, but they also added another tricking area here as well that lets you keep your glider when you land on it, making for an added shortcut that's honestly pretty fun to pull off. These are the kinds of decisions that are made when you have to insert your gimmick into as many tracks as possible, and in some cases like this one, it can make for a pretty iconic track upgrade. Oh, would you look at that? One of the greatest Mario Kart tracks of all time is back. Ain't that nice? Wii Coconut Mall has made its triumphant return immediately after Mario Kart Wii. It's like they knew they made a banger track here, so they decided, hey, why not? Let's just bring it back right away for the next game. This is pretty much the same track but downscaled to fit on a handheld now, which means the graphics do look slightly different compared to how they did on Wii. But honestly though, I think the graphics look better in this version, which just goes to show you how impressive the 3DS actually was. Of course, there are a few new additions, which come in the form of, say it with me now, new glider ramps. Yippee! That have now been added not only to this huge jump off the top of the mall itself, but also on the lower path with this much smaller jump. No matter where you go on this track, you cannot escape the glider. They really didn't need to alter much with this course, honestly. It's pretty close to perfect as is, so I'm glad they didn't try to reinvent the wheel with this one, so to say. Wait. What the hell? You're telling me we've got DS Waluigi Pinball, another absolute masterpiece, immediately after Coconut Mall? These are like two of the best tracks in all of Mario Kart, and you decide to place them together back to back in this random banana cup? See, this is what I'm talking about with this game. Mario Kart 7 just randomly has the best selection of retro tracks in the entire series, so much so that crazy shit like this can just happen out of nowhere. It's kind of a shame we didn't get this insane roster of retro tracks in a more modern game, like, oh, I don't know, Mario Kart 8, but this game is still fun enough, so I guess I'll take it. Anyways, Waluigi Pinball! Yeah, there's hardly anything different about this version. Bold choice to add a Waluigi track in a game that doesn't even have Waluigi in it. But it's fine, at least we got Honey Queen. I mean, just look at those lips. Again, it's fine to port over an excellent track as is, since you really shouldn't mess with perfection sometimes. But like, there's absolutely nothing changed here besides the visuals, I guess. Like, not even a random unnecessary glider ramp or nothing. Oh, sorry, they actually did add exactly that. They changed the starting ramp that flies you into the seizure machine into a glider, because that was an absolutely necessary addition. Sure! At least the track is still as cool as ever, and honestly just the fact that they made Coconut Mall go into Waluigi Pinball is more of a statement than any changes they could have made here. The 3DS Banana Cup feels like some sort of anomaly. Like, the first half is filled with two pretty alright but not excellent tracks, and the second half holds two incredible tracks that are both 5 out of 5s. I'm not sure if this is too early to call it the best retro tracks out of the ones we'll go through, but I feel like it's gonna be really hard to top the insane finale this one had. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, that was ranking every Banana Cup. Man, I was really not expecting this one to be as much of an emotional roller coaster as it was. No wonder you guys begged for it. I mean, the first cup held one of the most detestable attempts at a remake this series has ever tried to accomplish, while the last cup held two of the best tracks they've ever made. There was really no predicting where this one was going. I mean, it's just like real bananas. Sometimes they can surprise you with how tasty they are, and sometimes they're red. The leaf cups are up next, and I really have no idea what to expect with these ones besides more of the same, but who knows, there might be a few fun surprises in these. We're getting all these done before Mario Kart World comes out, alright? So you can stop panicking now. See you soon, racers.